right, so we're gonna get started today. I've been here like 3 or 4 times now, but if you haven't seen me yet, my name is Mike Roberts, and I am going to be doing a demonstration tonight about healthy Japanese style cuisine. So you have 2 recipes in front of you, but I sent Chuck a 3rd one that it just didn't get printed. But it's we're gonna do like a fresh fruit sushi, so it's like a take on sushi, but it's kind of like more of a dessert. We'll like roll it with the traditional style sushi mat, but we'll go through that, you know, toward the end. So we're gonna start out doing a yakitori chicken, which is like a Japanese style chicken skewer. In Japanese, yakitori just means grilled bird. So it's traditionally a Japanese, like a street food, something that could be cooked quick. So I did a mixture of boneless, skinless chicken breast and chicken thigh. And we'll skewer those together with some fresh scallions. Looking at your recipe there, we're going to start by making the marinade. We're not going to marinate the chicken. It's more of a glaze for the chicken. So we have that, and we also have our soba noodle salad. Soba noodles are a Japanese buckwheat pasta. So it's a buckwheat noodle. It's made with buckwheat flour. Soba in Japanese just means buckwheat. And that's a cold, it can be served as a side dish or as your main entree. It has a bunch of fresh veggies in there and a nice Japanese style dressing. So we're gonna get started with the with the glaze for our chicken, yakitori chicken. So in a pot, looking at our recipe, we are gonna use, it says low sodium soy sauce. That is what you could use, but I had some of this coconut. It's liquid aminos, so I used this the last demonstration we did Brazil. I had it in the dressing, and what it is a soy sauce substitute. It's like 73% less, has less sodium than traditional soy sauce. It's naturally gluten-free, and it's made from the palm of the coconut. The sap is like fermented, or wait, hold on. I wrote it down because I wanted to remember what it was. Maybe I didn't write it down. Oh yeah. It probably says right on the bottom. Yeah, that's right. Or it's made from the coconut tree sap that's aged, and it's blended with a little bit of mineral-rich sea salt. Okay, so that's that. Like I said, soy sauce substitute, a lot less salt. And then we have our mirin, which is a Japanese-style cooking wine. It has a less alcohol content than sake. I poured the water in there, right? Yeah. Yep. So that was just water that went in there. And then we have some freshly minced ginger. It's going to go right in there. Some garlic that we chopped. That's going to go in there as well. And then this is coconut palm sugar. I had this again from a different demo that I did, and I really liked it. It's just it's a little better than just your regular processed sugar. It's natural. It's going to do the same thing as white sugar, but it'll give a little bit of a different flavor as well. So I wanted to use that. So that is just going to now cook down. We're going to bring that up to a boil. It'll cook down for quite a bit, and we want to kind of reduce it into a nice glaze. Okay, so once that reduces down, we will, I already grilled some of the chicken skewers, so we will have some of them grilled, but we're going to skewer and grill some of the other skewers as well. And then once those come off of the grill, we'll brush it pretty generously with our glaze, and then from there, I want to throw it, instead of throwing them all back on this little tiny grill pan and making kind of a mess, we're just going to kind of turn on the broiler and it'll kind of do the same thing as like the grill would do, but that's what kind of we wanted to do with that. That was my goal. Moving next into our soba noodle salad. I already had our soba noodles cooked. So according to the package directions, they just take about 4 to 5 minutes in boiling water. You can add salt to them if you want to. I didn't, just for the sake of saving a little bit on the salt. So we're just going to prep our vegetables here. I like to take the bottom of the pepper off so you have a flat surface, and then we'll cut kind of along the sides, trying to keep most of those ribs intact, just like that. Then we can kind of dispose of those. And then I have any of these that we can kind of trim up a little bit as we go. Would be fine. And now we're just going to do a nice little julienne strip. Julienne just means like matchstick type strips. So we're just going to go ahead and start cutting our vegetables like this. You can cut these in any size you want. If you prefer them to be more of a dice, that's fine. Like I said, this is a cold salad. We're not cooking it. Your knife cuts don't have to be extremely precise. I like to make sure that they're kind of all the same. Okay, these little pieces will just cut up into there. And then after the peppers, we have our carrots, which I'm just going to do on the box grater. Okay, so this is starting to come up to a boil. I just want to make sure it doesn't boil over. So we're going to turn our heat down a little bit, because all that mirin and that little bit of sugar will definitely be a sticky mess. Okay, so we're going to try to keep an eye on that. All right. That's going to do that, isn't it? All right. Keep an eye on that, would you? All right. So, just going to finish up our peppers here. Wish these tables were a little higher.
Yep.
And then the dressing that goes on the noodle salad, what's great about this is you can make it up a little ahead of time. It'll definitely hold, 4 hours, 6 hours in the fridge. You don't want to let it go too long, because then what's going to happen is the dressing on the salad is going to start to absorb into the noodles, and then it'll start to get a little mushy, and you don't want that. Box grater. I can move this bowl so everybody can see it. I'll put it over here for now. Okay, so box grater. As long as we find a decent size. I mean, I'm going to go, these are all going to be raw, so I'm going to see what this looks like. Okay, so we're just looking for something all consistent sizes. We're going to give it a nice grate. I doubled this recipe just so everybody can try it, so. Just kind of rotate the carrot around. And if you, you can do this on the box grater. You can certainly buy those carrots that are already like julienne or in the bag. You're going to pay a whole lot more for them, but you can do that. It'll save you on time if you'd like. I don't mind using the box grater like this. Pretty simple, easy to clean. And then once we have our vegetables prepared, we're going to start working on the dressing. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now our carrots, little trick here, we're right in the box grater, into the bowl. Carrots scraps for the dog. Just going to clean up our board a little bit, and then we're going to do our cucumber. I like to use English cucumber, or sometimes they refer to them as seedless cucumbers. They're not seedless completely, but they definitely have a whole lot less seeds in there, and there's a lot less moisture than your traditional, like, pickling cucumber that you would see, like just the large pickles, or I'm sorry, cucumbers. So you can cut these with a knife any way you'd like. I'm just going to run it on the larger side of the box grater here. Okay, so we're just going to get some nice pieces like here. And this is a nice recipe to keep on hand. Even if you just use the dressing and the noodles, you can use any kind of vegetable that you have in your fridge, any kind of raw vegetable. The dressing goes well with pretty much everything. And if you're not crazy about soba noodles, you can certainly find a different kind of pasta that you like. They also, there's like chickpea noodles that are also pretty delicious and healthier for you than traditional pasta. Okay, so cucumbers are in. I think we're done with our box grater for now. Just gonna get the rest of those. Our glaze is working very nicely over here. And then we have just some green onions, or scallions, as we call them. And we're just going to kind of slice these on the bias. When I say the bias, just kind of mean on a nice angle. So we're going to line them up. I use the tops of these, or the root end, for our chicken. So just kind of using all those. But you certainly can use those white parts as well. They're a little more stronger in flavor. Okay, so now we're just going to go nice and thin with our scallions. Just line them up. And the ends are fine. And now we're going to throw those in here. Everything in the bowl. And we have some nice cilantro. If you're not a crazy fan of cilantro, you can leave it out. You can use just like fresh parsley for some brightness, some nice herbaceous notes. But this is traditional. With this dish, they use a lot of cilantro. Yes. Yeah, a lot of different Asian cuisines. It's definitely common to use cilantro, just like Spanish food and things like that. So once we have just the leaves, you can leave some of the shoots in there as well. Those are got a pack full of a whole bunch of flavor and nutrition as well. We're just going to kind of use most of the leaves here, but you certainly can use some of those shoots. And then anytime I cut herbs, I like to just run my knife through it just a few times so we don't damage and bruise the herbs too much. They'll definitely keep their color. So we'll just kind of grab our herbs and make a little ball. Just kind of roll it back on itself. And then the same thing, starting here, we'll just begin to do a nice thin slice. And then rotate them once this way and go through. Okay. Now we have our cilantro. All of our vegetables are in there. We can work on our dressing. Just going to clean up my board quick. Okay. Okay, so for our dressing, a little measure. I'm just going to mix the ingredients. Okay, so for our dressing, we have some nice rice wine vinegar. This is just made from fermented rice.
Is that, so that's different than mirin?
Yes. So mirin's a Japanese style cooking wine.
Got it. Oh, wine.
Yes, and this is a rice vinegar.
Okay. Oh, rice vinegar.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is slightly sweet. Yeah, mirin, like I was saying, it's lower in alcohol than like sake because people think it's kind of the same. And it's a little sweeter, it's a little thicker. So we have our rice vinegar. We're going to go back into our palm sugar again. Just a little bit of sweetness in there. This recipe called for sugar, but I tried to replace that with a little bit of palm sugar, a little bit of honey. Okay, so just going to give this a slow stir here. Mix this thing nicely. Okay. Yeah, so mirin, it's just going back to what that was. That's just all it is. Sweet cooking rice seasoning, they even call it.
Oh.
But it's just, like I said, like just a cooking
I
wine.
think I bought both and maybe I thought they were the same. I don't know. Well, they definitely taste the same.
So, okay, we have our, following along here, we have our rice vinegar, our palm sugar, we have some ginger. You can do that on a zester, a microplane. I just chopped it really fine. Okay, so we have some nice ginger in there. And then we have honey. Let me grab a little spoon here. Honey goes in. And then tamari. Tamari is just like soy sauce. Soy sauce is traditionally used in Chinese cooking. Tamari is what the Japanese would use. So it has less salt in it than soy sauce. It's a little sweeter. It's naturally gluten-free, but it's made kind of the same process from fermented soybean. So it's very similar. This is the bottle. It's just like, kind of looks exactly like you would find the soy sauce, different color, but it's also made by the same brand. So that's all that is. If you're thinking, you can certainly use soy sauce, or again, you can use that liquid aminos. It's the same type of thing, or a gluten-free soy sauce if you want to. They also have low sodium, all that. Okay, so tamari goes in. And then this is just a little bit of, we're going to follow along here, our little sesame oil, okay? So I found out today that I was kind of doing, as I was pouring this in here, that sesame oil, it kind of has a lot, like it's 120 calories in a tablespoon of sesame oil. So you're not going to find a whole lot of recipes that call for like a large amount. It's got a lot of flavor to it. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm sure that there's probably a lighter form of sesame oil that you can use that has less calories, but like I said, we're using a little bit. I just didn't have a second to do that research today. And then we just have a little, like an Asian chili sauce. This is just sriracha. It's packed full of a whole lot of flavor. Okay. And then I just warmed up a little bit of coconut oil here. You can use any kind of oil, like a neutral flavored oil that you'd like. Grapeseed oil, avocado oil, any kind of anything like that. I guess I only got one little whisk here, so I'm going to wash this and steal it. So I want to be able to whisk the oil into the other ingredients just so that we get a little bit of an emulsification. Emulsification is just when you combine two liquids, like an oil and water, things that will not combine. We're going to try to do that in our little measuring cup here. So we're just going to use coconut oil today. Okay. You can use, like I said, any kind of oil if you don't love the coconut flavor. Okay. And we're just going to try to stream that in. You could do this in a blender if you'd like, but it's all kind of just going into like a noodle salad, so that's not really a big deal. But see, we have a nice little, everything's kind of staying together. And then we're going to throw this right in with our vegetables. I'm just going to go with a little bit. I'm not going to use it all to start because the recipe calls for 12 ounces. I think when I was buying the soba noodles, they didn't come in 12-ounce packages, so they were like 10-ounce packages. So it's not exactly, I just don't want to have too much dressing in there. So these are the soba noodles. These are our buckwheat noodles. See if I can figure out how to put a glove on it. You gotta buy bigger ones. So these are the buckwheat noodles here. They're made from buckwheat flour. It's a gluten, it's naturally gluten-free. So we're gonna kind of do what I think will be there. A little bit of the dressing. So, according to the package instructions, it was boiling water for 4 to 5 minutes. I think I did it for just 5 minutes. It came out just to be nice and a little al dente. Okay, al dente just means has a little bite to it. In Italian, just to the tooth. So, because it is going to start soaking up some of this dressing. Okay, you get really nice colors here. If you are going to do this ahead of time, like during the day, just take out the cilantro and add that last, because you don't want the cilantro to turn a color from, once the acid sits on there for a little while from the rice vinegar, it'll start to kind of turn the color of that. So you can add that in right at the last minute. So now our noodles are starting to get coated with dressing, and then we can add a little more of the pasta. And like I said, any kind of vegetables would go really nice in here, any kind of raw vegetables, or if you want to add more carrots or anything like that, you certainly can. Add a little more noodles, a little more dressing. We'll just okay. And this will get better as it sits for a little while. So once we finish tossing this, we can taste it. And I'm going to put it in my cooler just so it gets nice and cold, and then we'll serve everything kind of at the end. All right. So there is our soba noodle salad. Maybe next time I would do the carrots on the other side of the box grater so they weren't so fine, but that's okay. Okay. So we have our soba noodle salad. Now we're going to work on our chicken. Our yakitori chicken skewer. Just going to clean out a little bit over here. We're going to go back to that. This is starting to reduce down nice, starting to get a little bit of a glaze, okay? It doesn't have to be thick, like really thick. We don't want it to be too salty. The more you reduce it down, the saltier it's going to be. But this is the main flavoring that's going to go on our chicken. So the recipe I had, we're not using any salt. We're not using, I just put a little bit of olive oil on there just so it wouldn't stick to my grill at home. So, let me grab my other cutting board here. And I just had a few chicken thighs. That's what I used. A few chicken thighs. And these scallions. So I wanted to use the very end of the scallion, okay, for our skewered part. We're going to cut those into little pieces. So I have just another board that I put on top of my board here just because I'm going to use some raw chicken, and then we can get rid of that board and we're not kind of cross-contaminating or anything. So I have enough skewered chicken already done. Funny story, I forgot the skewers. But I'll kind of show how we cut the pieces. And how they would get skewered on. I think I forgot the skewers. I brought everything else. So these were just boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I bought. I didn't do anything to them. So when you open up the package, you're going to see there's some fat. There's some other pieces of, some muscle that we can kind of trim away. So that's what we're going to do. You can use just boneless, skinless chicken breasts as well. I just think the thigh has a little more flavor, especially if we're kind of cutting away some of that fat. It can be pretty lean. Okay, so I just like to do just 1 inch square, like kind of a 1 inch piece. So we're just going to do some nice dices like that. They don't have to be completely perfect. You do want them to be consistent in size, because going on the grill, you want all the pieces to cook at the same time. Okay. So that's kind of small. We just want to do that. We'll trim off some of that fat. Okay. Just like that. And then for our scallions, just like to do about 1 inch piece as well. Okay. So then when I put them on the skewer, they would just go 3 pieces, and you can do even longer pieces if you want to serve them for dinner as well. These were just kind of like almost an appetizer portion or so. So I did skewers like this, and they would have your scallion right here, and then your third piece of chicken would go right through. Okay, I can show you what they look like. Okay, so I'm just using like a bamboo skewer right here. If you're gonna do it on your grill at home, soak them first so that the flames don't burn each side of the skewer. Okay, so yeah, just soak them in water for like 10 minutes. It'll just soak up some of that, and then they won't char up. So this is just my grill pan. I'm going to use here, and we're going to grill up a few of these. Okay. So now, we're going to let that heat up a little bit. We have our skewers. So one goes in like that. Scallion, you want to make sure you go right through the scallion. Chicken like so. Scallion. And then the other piece of chicken. Now these are pretty small, so they're not going to take a whole lot of time on the grill. We want to make sure that the scallions don't fall off, which that's why it's important to use that, here they are, the thicker side of that scallion. I think I used most of them, but I think I got a few left. There we go. Okay, so, that's not gonna hurt it. Full contact cooking show. Okay. So now we're gonna get rid of these. And we'll do 2 more. So we have our nice piece of chicken thigh, scallion, chicken thigh, there we go. This is pretty simple. Doesn't require a whole lot of technical skills. Just a matter of making shish kebabs. And you can, I've seen recipes where they add eggplant or any other kind of, you know, zucchini, mushrooms. This was just a recipe that I found that was in common with all the other, most of the other ones.
How to make the vegetable stock.
Oh, he did?
All the scraps.
Yeah.
And vegetables.
Today? Nice. Yeah, so that's, you know, any kind of vegetable you like, that's a good way to use them up. Okay, so this is just extra chicken. Just gonna have scraps. So now we have our pans heating up. I think they have a little bit more. A little bit of this cooking spray here, just to make sure that we don't stick too much. Just be careful doing that. Anytime you do that, make sure the flame's not right there, because this is aerosol and it'll just flame right up on you. Okay, so we got a nice little bit of oil on there. And we're going to hit the pan. You want to hear that nice sizzle, just like that. And try to make sure that those scallions come in good contact with the grill as well. Okay. And these aren't going to take long. You can do them all the way on the grill. What I did is I prepared some already this afternoon. I put them on my grill at home. So once these kind of get a good mark on them on each side, we're just going to pop them into the oven, finish them off, and then we'll hit them with our glaze. And then if we can get the broiler going, we'll throw the broiler on, and they'll just start to get really nice and sticky. Build a little more crust on those. Like I said, these aren't going to take very long. You just want to put a little bit of color on them. Traditionally, this is done over charcoal. There's restaurants in Japan that just focus on like skewered meat like this, the yakitori style. So, and they actually have certain, like their grills that are just set up just to do these. They're like only this wide, just for like these skewers, and that's like all they do. And they actually use, I forgot what the type of wood was, but it's a traditional style hardwood that they use in Japan for that. And I was reading there's a restaurant in New York City that does this, and they get their hardwood like mailed from Japan. I don't think you can really get it here, but because they wanted to honor the tradition, because in Japanese cooking, everything they do is sacred, like cooking, all of their utensils, they take really good care of everything. It's just it's like a total different style of way. What's that? I don't know that. I can look it up again. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was in New York City. But it was, I'm sure you might be able to look it up. I'm not sure. Okay, so we got a nice little bit of caramelization on our chicken here. Flipping it over. Okay, these grill pans are nice to have, especially like because we have, 10 months of winter pretty much. Just make sure you have kind of your hood fan on. Okay. So these are here. We're going to save the foil in case we need it again. And then we'll finish these off in the oven. In the meantime, after that, we are going to take, we're going to get our board out of here. I'm going to have to wash that cap. And we are going to start working on our dessert. I'm going to wash my knife here.
Yeah, I got a few things.
So these were cooked about 75% of the way through. I'm going to keep this with my raw chicken here. Okay, nice color on those. Turn off our pan. And then we're going to just pop these into the oven. I have it set at like 400 degrees. Okay, we want to cook them very quick. So these shouldn't take more than 7-8 minutes. Okay, raw chicken tongs. Sink. Okay. Do a little cleanup here. Now, the recipe that we're going to go through next, it didn't get printed, but it's a kind of like, it's not a traditional Japanese dish. I don't think they make fruit sushi in Japan, but I wanted to do something that was easy to do and healthier and fresh. I was afraid to do like raw seafood for this demonstration, so I figured we'd be able to show you how we work on our sushi making skills. I'm not a sushi master, but you can buy, these are like bamboo mats that are just made for sushi. You can just buy these at Wegmans for like $5 or $6. And then I wrapped it in saran wrap, so you, I think that's what they do. The sushi rice won't stick to it. So for sake of time, I made the rice already. So I have, this is just sushi rice that you would just buy at the store. It is in like the Asian section, and the recipe I have here, you take 1.5 cups of sushi rice, and it has to be rinsed really well in cold water. There's just starches on it that come off. So after you run it under water for probably 5 minutes or so, give it a good rinse, and then put it into a pot with 2 cups of cold water. You can use a little sweetener, like you can use honey, sugar if you want, I mean, or any of the other substitutes, but it's just to give it a little sweetness, and a little pinch of salt. And then when that comes out, or when that comes to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, and then when it comes out, you mix it with a little bit of coconut milk. So I just use a light, unsweetened coconut milk and a little bit of vanilla extract. Okay, so this is our sushi mat, and I have a bunch of different fresh fruits that we're gonna fill with them. The thing with, I made a bunch of these already so that we can try them, because you have to let them set up a little bit once you roll them, because I tried cutting into them and they kind of fall apart. They just need to like sit in the cooler a little bit. We're gonna try to cut them, but if they don't look perfect, it's okay, because I have a whole bunch that I already made. So on your mat that's lined with the plastic wrap, I like to just start making a rectangle, and you really have to make sure that this rice is packed pretty good. I'm not going to use as much rice as I did for the other ones that I made. I did take a class to learn how to make sushi a long time ago, so I already had the mat. So we don't have to use the entire length of the mat, okay, because we're just looking for kind of bite-sized pieces here. And then I always like to leave about 1 inch in between. So looking at the mat, these ropes that kind of go through, I always just stop right at the last rope, if you can see that, because as you press it, it's going to start to want to kind of move out a little bit. And if you have any holes or anything in there as you're packing this in, just grab another piece of the rice mixture and you can certainly just patch it. It's pretty forgiving. Okay, so now once we have our sushi rice down, you can use any kind of fruit. So I just have some nice slices of fresh peaches, you know, because peaches are in season right now. I'm just going to leave the skin on for a little bit of color. But you want to cut into long strips. I mean, if you've ever had sushi, what they do when they make it, they use long strips that go through, so that when you cut it, it looks like a stained glass window almost. They're just like really nice pieces like that. So I love peaches, so I'm just going to kind of throw a few in there like that. And then I have some raspberries that I sliced in half. Those can go right on the top as well. You can use anything you want. This is just what I have. I have some strawberries, pineapple, some mango. Okay, so from there, maybe we'll throw a little bit of mango in there too. A little bit of strips of mango. And then we pick up our bamboo mat. And if you don't have one of these or you don't feel like buying it because you're like, maybe I'm never going to do this again, you can just put it on plastic wrap, just put it out, and then you can use that. It's just, you can't pick up this rice if you just do it on your cutting board. It's just going to stick. So you can use plastic wrap, that would be fine. So I like to put the fruit right in the middle. I'm sorry, I can move that so you can see a little better. And we're just going to kind of, put your hands around the fruit. We're going to pick it up, and we're just going to tuck the rice over on itself. The goal is to get the fruit to stay in the middle of the rice. Okay, so now that we have that over on itself, we can kind of pull. And using this pressure on it like that, as soon as we get over there, then you can kind of do this. And then this just kind of helps form the sushi. Okay? You kind of go all the way over. And then I like to do what I was doing as I was just then picking this up and rolling it right onto just a cookie tray, popping it into the oven. Or I'm sorry, not the oven. That would be silly. The refrigerator. And then those would, that would set up a little better. So I'm going to do another one. On time we're doing okay. And then it'll be just about time. We'll pull our chicken out. We'll give that a nice glaze. Okay, so again, I'm going to take some of our rice. You don't have to do as much because you want the fruit to highlight it. And then I was gonna say you can pair this with like a fruit puree, a fruit sauce. If you just kind of blend up some of fresh fruit, you know, that would be lovely to dip with it. I didn't do that though. So now we have our rice, nice rectangle, nice kind of even across the way. We'll kind of go with, got a little bit of a kiwi here that I peeled. Again, I'm just going to do some nice long strips. Kind of looks like a cucumber. Kiwi in. And then maybe some strawberry. Just going to take off the top. Cut these into some strips. And then we'll take those pieces and throw them right in. We want to make sure that our fruit goes all the way from end to end, so we can get as much yield out of here as possible. Okay. Okay, so now we have that. We're just going to do the same thing. Maybe we'll put, I got a little bit of pineapple. Sure. A little pineapple, just for a little color. Same thing, roll it over onto itself, tuck in that rice. Oh, sorry, I'll move that. See a little bit better. And then form it like so. Should be able to spit it right out. And then nice and firm. And then what you could do, I have a little toasted coconut here. This is just unsweetened coconut. You can put it on the outside of it, kind of, for a little crunch, a little. You can do like drizzle of chocolate over if you really want to get indulgent. Okay, same thing here. Okay. Yes, it was just organic desiccated coconut. Exactly. And like I said, the other one's kind of. What's that?
I said show off.
Oh. I probably said that once and she remembered it. So like I said, they do, you want them to firm up in the fridge, but maybe they'll cut for us. Okay, so that's being, now we have nice little fruit sushi rolls here. So those you can go like that. I also have some like thinly sliced mango slices as well. You can put them kind of on the top of your sushi like that, almost like you would raw fish. You know, I just did this with a vegetable peeler. Okay, peeled the mango. Same thing over here. It's just a. What's that?
How do you know when those are right?
Wegmans now, like, they ripen their own mangoes. They have like a whole process, and if you just feel them, so like most of the times you can always find them now at Wegmans ripe, but it's kind of like an avocado. You should be able to put your, like, should be able to press into it. It shouldn't be mushy, but it should have a little bit of a give, and then it should be able to come back. It's not like you're pressing into it and you're squeezing it. It just should have like a little bit of firmness. I think they're like $1.50 a piece at Wegmans, and they last for like a week in the fridge. They should be fine. So I never have luck ripening fruit, so I don't. Everybody has a trick with bags and all that. I just kind of, I don't know. That's all I got. I don't know. But yeah, you should be able to just kind of hold into it and kind of press. So then there's some of that. Okay. Chicken.
Do you think the chicken's done?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab it now. We're gonna brush it with our.
Okay.
Okay, so now chicken. We're gonna put this down on our towel so we don't burn the table. Okay, that goes on there. And then I did bring a brush. Okay, so we're gonna take our nice little glaze here.
Wow, look
And
at
we're
that.
just going to give it a good liberal brush on there, okay? This is going to get nice and sticky in the oven. There's some natural juices that kind of come off the chicken, so there's just a little bit of moisture on the pan, which will help with my cleanup later. Okay, so this is going to be nice and glazed. You want to make sure you get all those little pieces of ginger and garlic. And now, since this chicken is cooked and we're brushing it with it, you can use the leftover marinade here to drizzle on it or use it as a dipping sauce because it hasn't been contaminated with any of the raw chicken. Okay. You can also thicken it up with a little cornstarch slurry. You just take a little bit of cornstarch in a bowl and mix it with a little bit of cold water. And then after that, you would bring your liquid here up to a boil and then add the cornstarch slurry as necessary until your desired thickness. You just got to wait until it comes up to a boil to see how thick it's going to get, and then it will definitely get thicker as it cools down. Okay, but you can do that as well. Okay, so we got a nice amount there. We'll serve this alongside too, so you can spoon it on there. Okay, and now we're going to see if our broiler, turn it on. We're just going to pop these under the broiler. That pan's hot. 400 degrees. Okay. And that'll just go for a couple minutes. When those come out, we're just going to serve those right on the tray they're on. We're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of white and black sesame seeds, just for a little color, a little garnish. You can certainly put cilantro, some extra scallions if you want, but there's scallions right on there, so just for a little color. And then we will kind of rehydrate our, just toss our soba noodle salad again, and then everybody can try. And then just going back to like the sushi, you can also do, like if you've had like sashimi, where it's like the rice, kind of the rice cake like so. And then, you know, if you want to get fancy, if you're having friends over who love sushi, you can do like thin slices of anything and kind of put them over the top like you would raw fish, you know, things like that, or what have you. But that's that. And then, like I said, you can make some kind of a dipping sauce. I like to just use like fresh fruit, kind of blend it all together. If I had a blender here, I would just throw all the rest of the fruit in, but I don't think I do. So that's that. We're going to make sure our chicken's not burning up. Sticky like so. Okay, so then we have our noodle salad. Anybody have any questions? Comments?
Looks good.
Good. And then this is all the extra sushi I made this morning.
Wow.
So there's some nice kiwi, mango, pineapple, all those kind of things. And we'll just kind of put our chicken right here. This is our sauce. We'll get a little ladle for that. The smallest ladle I have. Yeah, don't use the full amount, or maybe we'll just, you gotta tell it really well. Okay, get rid of that. And then, again, we'll put our towel down.
You know, the co-op makes that soba salad,
Yeah,
and they put broccoli florets in,
oh yeah.
and they use the carrot sticks, and they put cashews in them.
Oh yeah,
Cashews.
sounds good.
It's really good.
Sounds good. And then from there, like I said, we have just a little bit
That
of,
looks delicious.
we'll just take a little more of this, and over the top. And then a little sesame seeds. Little sesame seeds for the front row too. Sorry. Okay. Bon appetit. Everyone else come up and take a bite.
Thank you.